Hello again and welcome to another episode of I Want to Talk About This Album. And today, for the first time, I'm going to talk about the Rolling Stones. Some might say the greatest rock and roll band to ever exist. I think it's almost not even really up for debate. The Rolling Stones and the Beatles are the two, whatever you want to say, greatest, biggest, most influential, most important, whatever. There's no doubt about it. I would even say the Beatles are number one. It's not opinion. I think it's a fact. But the Rolling Stones are a close number two. If you want to consider bands who are still together, because the Beatles haven't been around for 50-something years, the Rolling Stones are the biggest, most important band in the world. No debate. I don't want to hear anything about it. And today, this is the first time I'm going to talk about them. And as I do when I talk about a band for the first time, I ramble and I talk and talk and talk, which I already have. I feel like I'm probably about a minute and a half into this video already. And this is the only Rolling Stones album. Well, I'll talk about that as I get into it. Before I talk about the record, which is "Let It Bleed," there it is. There, I'll tell a quick. I'll try to keep it quick. Little story. If anybody knows from my Istanbul adventures last month, my Turkish girlfriend Burcu, I'll call her that. When I do these videos, often I have talked to her before, and we're talking. And she'll ask me, or I'll tell her what album I'm going to do, and she always makes fun of me and rolls her eyes because everything is all blood and death and skulls and Satan and killing and all that. And so I always show her the record and show her the album titles. So I showed her this earlier today, and I said, here it is, and I showed it to her, and she looked at it and she said, "Rolling Stones, Let It Bleed." And there was something in the tone of her voice that indicated that she didn't know who the Rolling Stones were. And I said, "You know the Rolling Stones, right?" And she said, "No." And I didn't know if she was kidding or not, because it seemed impossible to me that there's anybody in the world that doesn't know who the Rolling Stones are. And I wasn't sure if she was kidding or not. I said, "Really?" And she said, "No, I don't know them." And again, I didn't know them. We spent maybe 5 minutes, maybe it was an hour, kind of arguing over whether she was kidding or not. I think I still don't know. She insists that she's never heard of the Rolling Stones. And I thought this was a safe album to show her, to talk about without the eye rolling. And then she pointed out that the name of the record is "Let It Bleed." So she said, "Oh yeah, bleed, blood. All your music is about bleeding and blood and Satan and dying and death and skull and fire and flames and things like that." So there's a little story to start things off. So the Rolling Stones, my history with the Rolling Stones, a little bit, I'm not sure how to explain. It's obviously very long. They've been around forever, and I've known them pretty much my whole life, but I was never a fan. I started to mention a minute or two ago that this is the only Rolling Stones record that I've ever bought. I did buy, they had that compilation album about 20 years ago called 40 Licks. I bought that on CD. And when I was a kid, I had three singles. I had three. I had the "Start Me Up" single, "Under Cover of the Night," and what was the other one? "Emotional Rescue," which is still one of my favorite Rolling Stones songs. So I had those 345s, the 40 Licks double CD compilation. This is the first record that I've ever bought, and this is the only studio album that I've ever bought. I don't know if I'll buy anymore. Probably not. I can't keep just buying records and records again and again. So my history with the Rolling Stones, as I said, I've known them pretty much my whole life since I've been into music. It's unavoidable, except if you're somebody living in Turkey, I guess. And I never really liked them. I would even say when I was a teenager, I hated them. Similar to, I've talked about this before with Led Zeppelin and Bon Scott era AC/DC. And there's somebody else that I'm going to talk about at some point. I've got the record sitting here that I hated, and now I really, really like, and I'll talk about that album at some point. And the Rolling Stones were like that for a couple of reasons. One, I was a teenage metalhead. I guess when I was younger, I liked them well enough. I wasn't fully, in the realms of metal at that point, and I was a little bit more open-minded. I didn't dislike them, but I just thought, they're okay. And then later, I disliked them. I think because, like I said, I was a metalhead, and also just I was tired of them. As I said, you couldn't get away from them. They were on the radio all the time, and also just for whatever reason, I didn't particularly enjoy their music. But I think maybe more than anything, and this was also similar with Led Zeppelin, they were old guys at this time. When I was 12, 13, 14 years old, the Rolling Stones were pretty much the oldest band around. And, you know, I was listening when I was 12, 13, 14, listening to Kiss, of course, Iron Maiden, Black Sabbath, Van Halen, Metallica, Slayer, and Motorhead. And so the Rolling Stones, you know, were these old guys, and it was the older kids in school who were listening to them. You know, when I was in the first year of high school, you know, all the kids in seniors, I guess, were, we don't say that in Canada. We don't say freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, you know. But I guess the older kids were into the Rolling Stones, and I just thought that's music for old people, and dismissed it. So that's why I'm not really a big Rolling Stones fan. Now live, I did see them. I saw them once. I almost saw them another time. The first time I almost saw them was in 1989. You know, they had this album called Steel Wheels. And in 1989, the Rolling Stones were considered very old by me, and I guess by the general public. And I don't know if anybody remembers, if you're old enough to remember this, there were all kinds of jokes about the Rolling Stones going out on tour at that time. People were calling it the Steel Wheelchairs Tour, you know, very funny. And I guess at this time they were, how old were they then? 40, in their 40s, maybe early 40s. I think Charlie Watts was a little bit older, but for sure in their early 40s anyway. But there were no old rock stars at that time. Everybody, you know, Rolling Stones at that point were the oldest, and they were in their 40s. So, you know, nobody was familiar with the concept of old rock stars. And back then, I guess 40 was older than it is now. And it's amazing that now they're, how old is Mick Jagger now? Is he 80, 81, 79? He's around 80. And you know, they're still playing. I think they're actually on tour now in the US or in Europe somewhere. And so anyway, that was too long. So I bought tickets to the Steel Wheels tour. They were playing, I remember it was in December. I don't know the dates, but they were playing it was December 1989. They were playing two concerts at Skydome, which is now Rogers Centre in Toronto, where the Toronto Blue Jays play. And my friend Pete and I, we had gone to buy tickets. Back then, tickets didn't go on, anytime selling starts with back then, you sound old. But back then, tickets didn't go on sale. You know, Metallica is playing here in September this year. It's still a couple of months away. Tickets went on sale almost 2 years ago. Back then, tickets went on sale maybe a couple of months before. So we lined up at Skydome box office overnight to buy tickets. There were a lot of people there. I remember a lot of people. We were in a very long line. I tried coffee for the first time ever in my life that night because it was you know, we were there overnight, and it was I think a little bit cold. It was probably October when we were buying tickets. And there was like a truck, you know, these catering trucks or these portable trucks that sell sandwiches and things like that. My friend Pete bought a coffee, and I can't remember if I tried his. God, why am I talking about fucking coffee? But anyway, I tried coffee and I hated it, and I've never had a cup of coffee since. And I didn't even drink that cup of coffee. So we bought tickets for it. And then 2 months later, and again, I wasn't a big Rolling Stones fan, but I thought, I should see the Rolling Stones. So when the concert came around, whenever it was, 2 months later in December, I didn't go. I think I gave my ticket away to Pete's. I don't know if it was his uncle maybe, or his dad or somebody, but I just thought, you know what, I don't really want to go to see the Rolling Stones. I don't know if I gave it to whoever it was, or they paid me for it or something, but I didn't go see the Rolling Stones on the Steel Wheels tour, which, you know, I really regret that now. And at that time, you know, people were saying, oh, the Stones are way, way, way past their peak. Well, imagine now, 35 years later. But I did finally see them on March 17th, 2017. The reason I know that date is because there's the poster now. You've seen it in all these videos, all of my videos in this series. You've seen it behind me, or maybe I'm blocking it, I'm not sure. That's one of my favorite posters. I think I have around 40 of these gig posters. That's my favorite. I love the colors of it. I love that it's got this, you know, the Stones logo, but it's also there. It's adorned with some Mexican flowers, and it's very colorful. It's got the red, the green, the yellow. I love that poster, and I think also because it was difficult to get. They played at a big stadium, Foro Sol, where Metallica is playing 4 nights. Rolling Stones played there 2 nights in 2017, and I went to the merch booth, and the posters were sold out. I ran to another one, posters were sold out, and I was going, I gotta get this poster, gotta get this poster. I ran to, I don't know, 3 or 4 different ones. Finally got one. I don't know if it was the last one or close to the last one, but I did get it. And that poster was designed by Charlie Watts. Was it his daughter, his niece, his wife? I don't know, somebody like that, I think, or somebody in the band's daughter, wife, or niece. I think it was Charlie Watts. God, this is so long already. Now I did also get, and I've got a few, not a few things, just one thing, a prop. I love this. This is one of my favorite things in my entire musical collection. Man, oh man, I love this. Look at this. This is a hand-painted set list from the Mexico City show. And there it is, March 17th. Oh, it was 2016. I thought it was 2017. March 17th, 2016. And you can see it was the second show. As I mentioned, they played 2 shows. I went to the second show, which was cool because there was not one of these for the first show. This is hand painted by, or hand drawn, I guess, by Ronnie. I can never remember if it's Ronnie Wood or Woods, but it was hand painted by them. He only does it for certain shows, not all of them, and then he sells them online. And I got this, and I'm very, very happy to get it. And I don't know why I don't have it framed and hanging on my wall. I have quite a few posters that I have. Lots are framed. You can't see them. Some are hanging on the wall, some are not, but a lot framed. But I have a lot to get framed. I love this, man. This is so cool, and it's nice, big, thick, heavy stock paper. And I got this, and because I have to turn everything into a boring story, I got this online. It was quite some time after the concert, 2016. I think I got this in 2018 or 2019 maybe. Ronnie was selling them on his website, and Mexico City was one of the ones that he had done a poster for. And I ordered it, and I waited. It was shipped from, I think, New Jersey, and it went through Houston, Texas. I followed the tracking, and it just disappeared. There was no sign of it. And I emailed them, and they said, well, give it another, I waited like 2 months maybe. And I emailed them, and I said, my poster isn't here. And they said, well, give it another week or 2 and then contact us again. So I waited again, still didn't come. So they sent a new one, and it came. And then the original one came, a long time later. I think the original one took, I want to say 6 months. Seriously, it took a long, it might have been even 3, 4 months, but I think it was 6. Took a long fucking time to get here. I don't know what happened. That's Mexico, but isn't that a beautiful poster? It's great. And I guess the cool thing is this is the only, as I said, the only Rolling Stones album I have. And from that album, or from this album, Let It Bleed, they played 1, 2, 3. Was there more? 4 from this one. I'm sure there weren't 4 from any of their album. So pretty cool that in retrospect. And the reason I bought this one is because it was, I'm not familiar with their albums enough, or what songs. Of course I know all the Rolling Stones songs, but I'm not familiar. I don't know what songs are on which album. So I looked at all their albums, and I thought, okay, I like this one, this one, this one. And this was the album that had the songs on, the most songs that I recognized and liked, and some ones that I really, really like. So that's why I bought Let It Bleed. And I'm kind of embarrassed to say this. I don't know if there's one Stone song, and I think I'm not exaggerating. I don't think there's one Rolling Stone song that I know all the lyrics to, including Satisfaction, parentheses, I can't get no satisfaction. I honestly, I swear to God, I don't know the lyrics. I've heard Satisfaction more than any song. Whether you like it or not, or whether you choose to or not, everybody's heard that song 18 million times. And I swear I don't know the words. It's like the song is playing and you're going, na 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 na, I can't get no satisfaction. I know the chorus, but that's it. And I don't know what it is, but Mick Jagger, just his style of singing, I could never, I've always had a hard time picking out his vocals. Same with Kurt Cobain is like that. Ozzy, there are Black Sabbath songs that I worship, and still some lyric, even Van Halen, a lot of lyrics I just don't really know. So that's, is there anything else? That's my history with the Rolling Stones. So I will open it now. And there it is. It's got a little hype sticker there that says, not too much of a hype, 180 gram LP, one of the greatest albums of all time, according to Rolling Stone magazine. And something about this album cover, I'm even more embarrassed to say this than I am about not knowing the full lyrics to any songs. You know, I've also known this album cover for pretty much my whole life, and I swear to God, it was only today that I realized, I've always seen it as, I don't know if I can explain it, as this in the background and the record in the foreground. And it was only today, I was listening to it today, I was listening to it digitally, but you know, looking at the record, and I realized that it's, I guess it's a weird perspective, and I feel like I'm probably the last person to know this, except for Burju. This, I guess, is supposed to be a record or a platter, and it's going to be sitting on the turntable there. Yeah, it's taken me that long to figure that out. I just never really, you know, I just glanced at it, and it's a weird cover. I don't even know what it is. This is, well, you know, it's got the record here, and it's got a tire, like I guess it's a bike tire. It's got a clock. It's got, this is, I guess, like a reel-to-reel tape. And it's got some fruit cake, and it's got Frank Rizzo, and it's got some figurines of the Rolling Stones here. And on the back, there's a piece of the pie or the cake taken out. And yeah, but I didn't know that. How about that? So I'll open this up now. I'm not sure what to expect. My first time opening a Rolling Stones record. I don't know if they put lyrics in their records. I don't know if they put any liner notes. But I'm about to find out. I will cut this open. Oh, I see pink inside. The inner sleeve is pink. Oh no, okay, I was going to say disappointing. Well, kind of. It's, there's one side, and there's the other side. So just, what is this? Okay, so some detailed notes about who played on what. No lyrics, no pictures, but that's okay. Better than nothing, as they say. Now I did take notes for this one. As I said, I'm not, you know, a big Rolling Stones fan, so I needed to take notes. About half of the songs I did know well enough that I could kind of talk about them, but there were, I guess, how many? One, kind of two, at least 1, 2, 3, 4 songs that I had never heard before. 4.5. I'll explain the half one when I get to it. So I did take some notes, which I will use right now. So the first song is "Gimme Shelter." This is one I don't need notes for this one. "Gimme Shelter" is one of my favorite. It could even be my favorite. And I have no idea what my, you know, if I had a list of the favorite Rolling Stone songs, I don't really know what they are. But just off the top of my head, Gimme Shelter is one of my favorites, possibly my favorite. There's another one on this album that could potentially also be a favorite, but I just love Gimme Shelter. The washboard on it, the backing vocals, the choir, and I think what really got me into this song, I've known it, you know, since I was I guess a young kid, probably 10 years old, but I think what really made it stick out for me was maybe 10 years ago, 8 or 9, 10 years ago. There's a, I guess it's on YouTube, there's an isolated vocal track of it, of Gimme Shelter, and you hear this woman who's singing the backing vocal, the, you know, rape, murder, and she's screaming, she's wailing, belting it out. You can hear she makes a couple of mistakes, her voice cracks, and I'd never noticed that in the song, but in the isolated track you can hear it. And I just thought it was cool that they left that in. They you know, I guess it's just really raw and emotional, and she was really feeling it, and they didn't care that her voice cracked. They left it in, and I listened to that song back at the time that I discovered it, somewhat obsessively, which then led me to listen to the song more, and "Gimme Shelter" has become one of my favorite Rolling Stones songs, possibly number 1. Next is "Love in Vain." This is one I'd never heard before until I listened to this record. I listened to it a couple days ago, and then again twice today. So "Love in Vain," when I first heard it, immediately, the first, I don't know, 10 seconds or so, totally reminded me of "Fluff" by Black Sabbath, which is on Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. It's got this really nice acoustic intro. Really, really reminiscent of Fluff. I guess throughout, but especially before the vocals comes in. And I've only heard this song now like 3 times. And then when the lyrics came in, the lyrics are, well, I had to write this down because I don't know. Well, I followed her to the station with a suitcase in my hand. And immediately I thought, it sounds like, it was reminiscent. And the way he delivers them too was reminiscent of the opening line of You Can't Always Get You What You Want, which is also on this album. I saw her today at the reception, a glass of wine in her hand. And then, well, I followed her to the station with a suitcase in my hand. So a glass of wine in her hand, a suitcase in my hand. I followed her to the station. I saw her today at the reception. Very, very similar. I'm sure I'm not the first person to know that, but I've never heard anybody talk about Love in Vain. It's kind of a bluesy song, a lot of slide guitar. I love it. It's a great, great song. Really nice song. Beautiful. Next is Country Honk. Another embarrassing note here. I'd never heard this song before until I heard this when I listened to it the other day. And so it was playing, and when he started singing, I thought, I know this song. I recognize this song immediately. It's vocally. I mean, the vocal melody is Honky Tonk Women, and then it went on. It was, man, this is Honky Tonk Women. What the fuck is going on? And I usually don't. I try not to visit Wikipedia when I do these videos. I for one, I don't want to be these guys that just talk about facts that you can look up. And also, I kind of want to do it as if as if I was approached this as if I'm just having a conversation with a friend. And but I thought, what the fuck is going on here? So I did Google it. I think I looked on Wikipedia maybe, and it turns out that Country Honk was the original version of Honky Tonk Women. And then, although it was released later, Honky Tonk Women, and I only learned this today, Honky Tonk Women, I didn't even know, but that was never on an album. It was just a standalone single. It was never released on an album, just a single, as bands used to do back then. And so the single of Honky Tonk Women came out before Let It Bleed, the record. But anyway, am I making myself clear? So yeah, Country Honk. Had no idea. Yeah, lots of fiddle in this song. I guess that's why they call it I guess it's supposed to be like a country version. But yeah, didn't know. So they're Country Honk, and it's a pretty good song. Honky Tonk Women is not and I don't know which one I like better, Country Honk or Honky Tonk Women, and it doesn't matter. I've only heard Country Honk 3 times in my life. Next is Live With Me, another one that I'd never heard in my life until a couple days ago. And the intro, just like the intro of Love in Vain, reminded me of Fluff. The first, I don't know how long, 10 seconds or something of Live With Me, really, really reminded me of Bitch, which is, again, one of my favorite Rolling Stone songs, which I was familiar with mostly because Exodus did a great cover of it on... that album was called, nobody liked that album, but I did. That album, I can't remember what that album was called, but yeah, Exodus did a cover of Bitch, and then I've been familiar with the Rolling Stones version because that, Force of Habit, that's the Exodus album. I really like that album. In this one, lots of piano, saxophone, lots of guitar, and it's just a good Rolling Stones rock and roll song. I like it too. Next is Let It Bleed, of course. And another embarrassing thing, I'm so embarrassed by my lack of Rolling Stones knowledge. I didn't know the title of this song for years. This was one that I heard on the radio, and it was, We All Need Someone You Can Lean On. I was very, very familiar with that song, but I didn't know that it was called Let It Bleed. Yeah, and another one that was like that was Baba O'Riley. Probably everybody knew that as Teenage Wasteland. I didn't know it was called Baba O'Riley until mid-90s, maybe late 90s, I don't know, but a long time. But yeah, Let It Bleed. I like this song too. I don't know why it's the title track though. It's not. It has nothing to do with the album cover. And lyrically, I'm not sure. I just think it's a strange the song and the lyrics and musically and the album cover. Just, I don't know, they don't add up. So kind of a strange choice that they had this as a title track. But I do like Let It Bleed, good song. Next is Midnight Rambler. This is another one. This album is really full of hits. Midnight Rambler was another one that was, I guess, a Rolling Stone staple. This was on the radio a lot. Not as much as Satisfaction or what else? Start Me Up or anything like that. But it was on the radio a lot, and it was very famous song. I was never into this one. Maybe too much harmonica for my liking. I don't mind a little bit of harmonica. I think this one was a little bit too much. Midnight Rambler, so. Next is You Got the Silver. This is one that I mentioned that it was kind of a half song that I knew before. Now, I'd never heard it until they played it here. There it is, You Got the Silver. And I'd never heard it before, and they played it here, and Keith Richards sings it, which again, I didn't know. I was surprised. Oh, Keith Richards is singing a song. And it's pretty good. I like this song, You Got the Silver. And another thing about this was they did Let's Spend the Night Together. They on this tour, I don't know if they always do it, but on this tour they did they call it like a fan vote. I think like the day before the concert they announced like 3 songs and you vote for which one you want to hear, which one they're going to play, and it's different every night. The 3 songs are different every night. The choices are different, and then you vote, and it's probably not real. I think they probably just play whatever they want, but they played Let's Spend the Night Together, which at that time I was very happy about. I remember one of the other choices was She's a Rainbow, which I'd never heard, and that is maybe my number 1 Rolling Stone song. And I hadn't heard it until, because I thought, what are the other choices? Let's Spend the Night Together, She's a Rainbow, never heard of that, and whatever the other one was. And so I wanted to hear it, and I downloaded it, and She's a Rainbow is probably my favorite Rolling Stone song. Oh, that's so off topic. Am I digressing? Do I say, but I digress? Does that mean you're going back to what you're talking about originally? So yeah, You Got the Silver was kind of a new one for me, except for hearing it this time. And it's a pretty good song. It's Keith Richards. I sometimes wonder why bands, and I don't really mind it, but sometimes I think, why do you have, I've talked about Uli John Roth singing a couple of Scorpion songs, and Stone Gossard sings Don't Give Me No Lip and Mankind, and I love Stone Gossard. I love those 2 songs, but sometimes I wonder why bands have when they have a great singer, why they have somebody else singing, and I like it. I just think it's a little bit strange. Anyway, why have Keith Richards singing when you can have Mick Jagger? Although I'm sure some people love Keith Richards more than Mick Jagger. This is my most rambling I think that I've ever done. Even for me, this is a lot. Next is Monkey Man. This was another one I'd never heard before until a couple of days ago, and then again today. Good riff, kind of a real rock riff that was a little bit reminiscent of, not as obviously for me reminiscent as Love in Vain was of Fluff, or Live With Me was of Bitch, but Monkey Man was a little bit reminiscent of Gimme Shelter. Another, just a good rock song. I like that one. And the last one is You Can't Always Get What You Want. This is, I don't know if this is it's maybe not quite my favorite Rolling Stone song, but I think for me, this is what should be considered their signature song. This one really shows, You Can't Always Get What You Want really shows, I guess, what the Rolling Stones can do, or what they really have to offer. This song has everything. First of all, it's a little bit epic. It's 7 or 8 minutes. Just an amazing song. The choir in the beginning, and then I guess throughout, it's got acoustic guitar in the beginning. Also, then the French horn comes in. There's some piano, some organ. I don't know if it's B3 or I don't know what you call it, but just organ. Some shakers or maracas. I'm not sure what they're called. And I love small thing, but that Charlie Watts, the drum fill. There's that pause. You try sometimes, you just can't find. You get what you need. Before the you get what you need part, there's that pause and that great drum fill. I love that drum fill. And again, I'm not a big Rolling Stones fan, but yeah, this song and that drum fill is amazing. That's it. So I made it through. I'm a little bit embarrassed. I have to say I'm a little bit embarrassed. I don't know if any of the people that watch my videos regularly, which are not too many, but thank you for watching. I don't know if any of them are Rolling Stones fans. I have a feeling that Kirk Desmond is. I find myself wondering, lying in bed awake at night, wondering, does Mike Pratt like the Rolling Stones? I'm not sure. But if you like the Rolling Stones and you watch this, please feel free to educate me on the Rolling Stones and tell me what a fool I am that I didn't know these things about the Rolling Stones and these songs that everybody else knew. Yeah, good one. I wish I was into the Rolling Stones more. I see so many people enjoying the Rolling Stones, and it's, you know, part of their life, and I'm just like such a casual fan. But anyway, there it is, my first time talking about a pretty good rock band called the Rolling Stones. Let It Bleed.